Hello everybody. This video shows how to create a VPC network and subnet in Google Cloud Platform using Python and the API. A quick summary of what is a VPC network, and then we'll look at some code and some potential mistakes that you could get if you hadn't had the benefit of watching this video. Firstly, a VPC network is basically a virtualized equivalent to a data center rack of switches, router, firewall, load balancers, and so on. A network is either private or publicly routable. So private addresses are what we're going to look at here. And if you want to check any details, look up RFC 1918 addresses, RFC 1918, and you'll see lots of information about those. So what we're going to do next is think about how we can actually create our syntax, but we need a little bit of help because creating the JSON or the dictionary is not it's not entirely straightforward. You need to kind of know the syntax. So if you use the equivalent REST response, which you can get by using the GUI first off, so there's no harm in using the GUI to actually create your first network. In fact, I'm sure that's how everybody would recommend it. So once you've done that, then you can use, down at the bottom, you've got a little button that says equivalent REST. And you get this REST response. And the important line here, which came to my rescue, was subnetworks, and then it's projects / and then it's the project name, and then it's / regions / the region. And then, so I'd actually just been putting in the name of the subnet and getting some kind of global domain weird error, 409 error, I think it was. So without further ado, let's look at the code and I'll show you it working, and then we'll unpick it, and potentially I'll have a go at putting two bits together. So at the moment we've got one script which is creating the network, and then we've got another script which is creating subnets or a subnet. So what we could do is then actually create a network and multiple subnets all in one script. So let's get going. Okay, just for a bit of info, here's the RFC 1918 original document from February 1996, believe it or not, by RIPE. Address allocation for private internets. I'm not going to read all this, you can check it out if you're interested, but with the current size of the internet and its growth rate, it's no longer realistic to assume that by virtue of acquiring globally unique IP addresses out of an internet registry, an organization that acquires such addresses would have internet-wide IP connectivity. So basically you've got the private addresses which everybody can use within their organization without any fear of overlapping, shall we say. So, right. We're going to be using the networks.insert method with the API, and we're also going to be using the subnetworks.insert method with the API. So networks and subnetworks. They've each got an example, and if we scroll down, this is the JSON representation, which obviously shows every potential option and every field which you don't necessarily need to use. As you can see, some of these are for peering, changing the MTU size. The minimum value for this field is 1460, the maximum 1500. Okay. Yeah, so if you scroll right down, you get to the example code, and then you see examples and Python. If you've seen some of my previous videos, you might have already seen something similar to this. If you'd watched the firewall video where I was inserting a firewall rule, and the very first video where I was getting some information. So here we're actually doing service. In my other video, the variable was called compute. It doesn't matter. That's just the name. And then you do the usual. So discovery.build. I think in the one where I was using compute, I wasn't actually passing credentials equals credentials, and you need that because it's because of OAuth 2 authentication. As you can see here, this sample uses application default credentials for authentication. If not already done, install the gcloud CLI from blah blah blah. Yeah, and then obviously pip install upgrade Google API Python client. If you'd watched my previous videos, you'll know I've already done that, so I won't be doing it here. Right, okay, so that line we've covered. Project, so project is your project ID, which if you've watched the previous videos, you'll be getting hang of. You get that from the drop down, and there we see project ID. So it's in this column, which is called ID, and network body. So the network body, and similar for the subnetworks, the subnetwork body, where what I kind of had a little bit of issue with getting the exact syntax working for. So initially I tried using if I refresh this, I think I might get, when you first load it, in a second, here we go. You see what's loading here, the API Explorer. You can try that, and it might be okay, but as I just said already, the easier way of checking it is actually to use the GUI and then get the equivalent REST API, or get the equivalent REST. Right, okay, enough talking. Let's go and look. So at the moment, I'll close that because that's a duplicate. Right, at the moment I've got no VPC networks here at all. I've even got rid of the default just for clarity. Good, right, so what we're going to do, I'm just going to show you what I've done, because basically there's no point in me pretending to write the code from scratch, because I've copied it from I've copied it from the documentation, so there's nothing to be gained from. So network creator, let's just make that full screen. And I'm just going to, I had started putting in the subnet code into the same script, but to get it working, I thought I'd just actually keep them separate. So get rid of that and that. So here we go. This is more like what we would have started with. So pretty print just for the printing the output. The API client, which you should have already installed. The authentication. So first thing to know is network body, and then you've got routing config, and then you've got curly braces and routing mode, and then I've just set this to regional. So if you don't know about regional and, excuse me, if you don't know about regional and, let me just find my diagram. So you've got regions and you've got zones. And I could recommend a really good video if you Google for just me and open source. And I think it's video 7. He's got GCP videos, video 7. Basically, regions, you can have different with Google or GCP, you can have multiple regions in the same VPC network. And if you come from Amazon, that's not the case. So I think possibly Google's better from that point of view. You can have multiple zones in the same region, and the subnets can span the zones, but the subnets have to be within that region. So a region would be, I don't know, say Europe or Europe West, and then the zones could be Frankfurt, London, wherever. So routing mode, regional. We'll leave that as regional. And auto create subnetworks is false, because we want to create the subnetworks with our script. Name, P network, practice network. MTU 1460 is the default. MTU is maximum transition unit. You can run into trouble if you set your MTU too high, and it can potentially, you can get issues with VPN as well if you set MTU sizes incorrectly, although that would be much less. Region is the F string of the region, and the region is, we've already set the region. Or have we? What's going on there? Let's just have a look. What did I do in the first one? This was my initial one, which ended up as a bit chaotic. So ignore that. Oh, that's instance creator. Region. There we go. So region equals, I'm just going to use Europe West 1. If you're in the United States, then obviously you use whatever's most relevant to you there. Region equals Europe West 1. And in fact, if I got a bracket missing, 2, 3, 4, I think I have. Is that better? Yeah. Right. Request equals service.network. So service is the object here using discovery build. So .insert, because we're inserting, we're adding something, and then project equals project, body equals network body. I still think I got an issue there. Let's just run it and we'll soon see what the error is. Yeah, line 23. Right, let's get rid of that. And should that, just bear with me. Right, let's try this then. I've fixed that little typo, and it says running. That's all you'll get, because obviously there's no, we did print the response, but that was just the initial response. So if it says it's running, it does take a while. So if we just do VPC Networks, get the little spinny disk, and you can see it's made P network. If we click on it, we'll see we've actually got no subnetworks or subnets. So what we want to do is run this script, which is subnet creator, and much like network creator, which we were just looking at, subnet creator should that's always such a loaded word, isn't it? Should. In fact, let's get rid of all of that. That's just visual clutter that we don't want. This was kind of this was my very early attempt, so hence a little bit messy. Get rid of that. There we go. So this is the really important bit, and if you don't take anything from this video, hopefully you'll gain more than just this. But projects /network demo -1 33152, and all of that, because I was just putting in, I'll show you what I was doing. I was just putting in that, and if you run that, I'll show you what you get. You see, I'm just putting network equals P network, which is just kind of the relative name, and you get this error. The URL is malformed, domain global reason invalid. So if I restore that, and as previously mentioned, I got that from using REST equivalent. So if we run this now, let's just clear and run it now, and we should find that it makes us a extra or a subnet work. And if we just pull that down, and again refresh, sometimes if it's not refreshing just by doing that, you actually have to refresh it right from the top level, so to speak. Now you see that's just appeared, that line, and it's added the 10 subnet with a /24. So that, although that's a class A address, I've actually just given it /24 just to conserve space, address spaces, and then we could have you could have a 10.0.1.0/24 and a 10.0.2.0/24. If you want more information on any of that, then just drop me a comment and hopefully I can help explain that. There are traditional class A, class B, class C addresses, but then you can also do supernetting or subnetting and CIDR, which allows you to use kind of like an unorthodox subnet mask with the particular private address range. So, just to show you where I got that, just to really reinforce where I got that equivalent REST from. Where was it? It was right from it was from creating the subnet, wasn't it? So if you go there, go into the network. So the network's kind of like the overall big one. If you go with add subnet and then add subnet and then equivalent REST, and that's what you need. So just to really remind you, that's what you need to put in your code, which is line 21. So that's what you need. And let's try and put the two bits of code together now. I think. Well, I don't know. Okay, do you see how that went sort of brown coloured? Not sure what's happening there. I think something's reloading, but right, let's go, before we do that, because otherwise I'm going to forget, let's just go in and delete the, again, you can script the deletion of networks as well. So click on that, click on the network, then delete VPC network. Deleting a network also deletes its subnetworks, routes, and firewall rules. You cannot undo this. So if you're on a production network, just get a second opinion on that. Or if you script it, you're not going to make a mistake, are you? Because you're probably going to get the script into a work plan, send it through change control, somebody's going to approve it. So you've kind of got you've had your second opinion and peer review, or your manager signed it off or whatever. So the responsibility is not solely on your shoulders then. Right, while that's doing whatever it's doing, let's combine these two files. So I think what I need to do is create a new file called any suggestions? Let's that's on the wrong what is going on there? It's right, activate Cloud Shell. That was on another project. I created a new project for this video just to keep it neat and tidy. Right, okay, so LS, and we've got network creator and subnet creator. So let's create a new file. Let's call it touch. We're not calling the file touch. Touch network subnet creator .py. I know it's a really long file name, and this is kind of more for more for video educational, didactic reasons. Right. So to bring up the kind of the VS Code lookalike, you just type edit, a bit like you'd type code if you're on your own PC. Right, so we've got an empty file. So first thing, I'm just going to copy network creator, which we know works. Let's move that up a bit. Paste that in here. So that will create our networks. And then the subnet creator. Let's just, I think I can just copy, I think this should do it actually. So I'll put all this code on GitHub, and if it's of interest or you want to clone it, modify it, do what you want with it. Yeah, region, we've already got that in there. So network body, subnetwork body, and what's that saying? Putting the cart before the horse. So we want to do this. The network, you've got to make the network first before the subnetwork. And hopefully you can see, I'm just tidying this up really. I'm not doing anything new, so to speak. So I don't know if we need a timer in here or not, because that's going to execute. Then it's going to go straight to this command. I think for belt and braces, I'm going to import time. And then down here, we will put in between creating the network and the subnetwork, let's put in, I don't know, let's even try 30. Creating network. Good. Okay. Let's just check. We've got nothing here. No networks created. I'm just going to refresh again because sometimes it's easy to forget. Or let's just check what those. So I had that yesterday as well. I don't know why I'm getting a warning for service, but anyway, let's run this, see what happens. So far so good. So it's creating the network. I think that was always going to work. It's the second bit that's got the potential to have an unexpected feature, aka a bug. It's waiting for the 30 seconds still, so just bear with, and hopefully we'll get the response 2. So that was response 1, and it looks like it's done response 2. I think that's a bit small, that error message. Oh, error message. Running. So that was response. Oh yeah, that was response 2. If you remember, we were getting response. No, tell a lie. That's in the wrong place. that should be here. So response 1, then the time, then response 2. Sorry about that. It appears to have worked. We haven't got any error messages, so I'm just going to just bring that down there. VPC Networks, and what I'm hoping to see is one network and one subnetwork. And look, lo and behold, that's what we've got. So I think if I do any more today, it's just going to get messy, and I think this is probably better just to keep as a short and sweet video, or relatively short and sweet. What are we up to? 25 minutes. So hopefully you've watched this all the way through. If you just fast forwarded it, you missed the bit with the top list dancers and the free beer. So go back, rewind, and watch it all from the start. Good. Thank you for watching. So RFC 1918, if you're not already familiar with that, networks use the method of networks.insert, and also use subnetworks.insert, some Python code, and then you have it. You have your own subnet. So obviously, if you just create an instance, it will just work with the default networks, but life's never that straightforward, and typically most organizations will have their own. One of the reasons for that is obviously because with migrations from on-prem to the cloud, then many occasions stuff will break if you start changing subnets and so on. So, and even particularly bad code's probably been written to use static IP addresses, or not even bad code, but there'll be legacy stuff that won't like it if you change the IP addresses. So rather than going with Google's default IP addresses, you may have to create your own new ones, like I've done here. So that's the reason for creating them. The reason for doing it with Python is if you don't want to use Terraform, or you don't want to use the GUI, or you don't want to just use the command line. So again, if you've got Python expertise, or even if you're beginner or intermediate, this is still something you can kind of pick up, and it's not too scary, hopefully not too scary for you. So thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.